Hello and welcome to the 12th episode of the Make Money with Mace podcast. I'm your host Mace, and let's just get right into week 8 action. Unfortunately, I was busy and not able to record in time for Thursday Night Football. But that being said, the Thursday game, if my bet today of Levante David and his over on solo tackles did not tell you how I feel about the game, I don't know what will. I had no idea what to pick, and I just went with someone who is an incredibly consistent football player and has been for the past about decades. So that's why that bet was the way it was, and hopefully it cashes in and I can turn the season around. That is the goal this week, is to turn the season around, get some winners in the building, get some winners. Just that's all I'm looking for. I'm looking for winners. And thankfully, we've got a full slate of games. Just a full-on, every game is on the table. I'm ecstatic. Let's get right into it. And it should be a good week. So, first off, New Orleans at Indy. Last week, I picked Indy to cover an under against a team that has been going under. And while the Saints did have their first over, I have no idea. I mean, there are two teams that are very, very hard to predict. I don't feel comfortable with either of them, honestly. Like, they just are bizarre. The under is set at 44, which that's about right. You know, that's about right. No, the Colts are the Colts are 1-point dogs at home. So I don't know. So, give me 1 second. Getting totals up as well. There we go. Perfect. So, the game's weird. New Orleans is obviously very, very good. I'm just pulling up DVOA stats too, just in case I need them. I think that Indy's DVOA is probably all right. Gardner's a pretty all right backup. I'm just looking at DVOA right now. The Colts ranked 12th. They're ranked 12th in offense, 14th in defense, 22nd in special teams. Saints are 15th, so it's a really pretty even matchup, and that's probably why I feel so iffy about it. So yeah, gonna take a look at the next game. I don't know if I'm touching New Orleans at Indy. It's just a weird game. Jacksonville at Pittsburgh. The line is 41. Yeah, I mean, two really good defenses. Jacksonville's coming off a mini bye with Thursday night. Mike Tomlin is a home underdog, so being a home underdog is a big deal, obviously, for him. I think Tomlin has a crazy record as a home dog, but this is a game Jacksonville should win, and should win pretty easily. They're just a much better football team overall. It's just that Pittsburgh's been doing the same thing for what feels like forever. So who knows what will actually happen here, but I do think we'll see. We should see Jacksonville win. I don't know if Jacksonville will win, but Jacksonville's a much better football team by all accounts. Like, we just take a look at DVOA, right? Jacksonville ranks 8th. Pittsburgh is... Oh my God, where's Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh's 17th, so that's a pretty sizable difference. The defense is good, Pittsburgh's. It's very TJ Watt-centric, but it's still a good unit. 8th overall. But that's the thing. I have no idea if Pittsburgh's going to be able to move the ball, because Jacksonville's defense has been balling. They rank 4th overall. So, yeah. That's an interesting one. Road favorite. I think they're road favorite by... Yeah, only one. Oh, it opened at 1. They're 2.5 now. So... who knows? Philly at Washington. Washington does play them tough. However, Washington's been really bad. Philly looks like they had a really complete game against a good opponent. I don't know. It could be... we've got a lot of different things could be happening. They really could be. Oh, this is a tough week. This really is. But yeah, I think... Philly's much better than them, but they don't do a good job of covering. I think their only covers have been against Tampa and now Miami. I don't know. But Philly just everything about Philly is significantly better than Washington, right? And I don't know how Sam Howell is going to survive against that front. Sam Howell is abysmal at avoiding the sack. He is so bad at it. Like, he's the worst quarterback in football at it. It's not even a question. He's terrible, terrible, terrible at avoiding the sack, and it's to the detriment of the football team. And it's really hard asking defenses to overcome such negative play from the quarterback, just in general. And here's the thing: Howell is not even that bad when it comes to getting the ball down the field and actual like throwing the football and good passes and things like that. He is not like terrible at it whatsoever. He has no pocket awareness, and it's just so bad. Like, sacks can be a quarterback stat, right? Obviously, it's a team game, and lots of things contribute to a sack. But the way he gets sacked, it's just rugged. Like, it's just not productive whatsoever. So, yeah. Based on all that, you're right to assume that I think Philly is a much better football team. So, so please do with that what you will. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but I'm going to figure something out. All right. Houston at Carolina. Houston's really good. Well, they're not really good. They're like a young team that has a direction. Meanwhile, Carolina is a young team sort of without direction. But 3-point favorites coming off a bye. I think both teams are coming off byes, actually. They might come out strong. Carolina, it is a home game. But Houston's a 3.5-point favorite. Should be a victory for Houston. Just by DVOA, let's go there. Houston is 14th. Carolina is literally 32nd. So if you want to again do with that what you will. Houston has a good operation going. CJ's looked really good. So yeah. It's a weird one. It's a weird week. It's the NFL. It's hard. It's hard. The next game on the docket, the Rams at the Cowboys. The Cowboys should win this. The Cowboys should win this pretty handedly. Will they win it handedly? Who knows? Huge coaching mismatch. Huge roster. It's like the roster mismatch that the Rams are facing is about the same as the coaching mismatch I think the Cowboys are facing. McVay and company are proven they are elevating what is a very poor roster heavily. Matthew Stafford's been balling. Obviously, Puka Nacua is a revelation alongside Cooper Kupp, so that's great. The Rams' offensive line is not great. They've performed admirably, but I think Dallas was off a bye too, right? Yeah, Dallas off a bye, rested up. That front is really strong, and I think that front's going to show up and ball out. So hopefully that may be a decent favorite. So, I don't know. I do not know. This is a tough slate. To pick. Like I said, I'll cook something up. I'll have something for the people. All right. After that game, like, I wish I had more to say about it. Just like these NFC teams, I don't know nearly as well. Not gonna lie. Like, Pittsburgh's impossible. I'm just gonna circle back. Pittsburgh's impossible because they play horribly all game, and then the fourth quarter they win somehow, magically. And then it's like Jacksonville. Jacksonville's been a little Jekyll and Hyde, but they seem to be coming out of it and have put together 2 London games, and they've put to like a bit of a win streak, right? They were 1-2, now they're 5-2. So they've been playing well. Winning 4 in a row. So they've put together a pretty good little thing going. They're getting control of that division. Like, they've got firm grasp of it. I think that they can go into Pittsburgh and win. Obviously, Tomlin's a home dog, and the record's crazy. But Jacksonville's just like they're solid, and that's why Pittsburgh is just like you don't know what you're going to get from them, and that's why it's so hard to try to decipher anything from them in terms of a gambling perspective. And then Philly and Washington. Philly's been Philly's been a little weird this year. They've been slow at the gate. They played down to their competition typically, except when it was against Miami, where they just overwhelmed them with their sheer amazingness up front. And they don't have that same advantage against Washington, so that's probably why it'll be tighter, but they still should be a 7-point favorite. Like, on paper, I think Philly should kill them, but like I said, Washington has played them tough. The Rams and the Cowboys, it's just like everything is screaming Dallas. The roster, the weapons, everything. But the coaching matchup is just such a disparity. I don't know. And that takes us to New England at Miami. The Patriots do not win in Miami typically. Obviously, they had a great win last week that I was very happy about in Buffalo. Or not in Buffalo, but hosting Buffalo, they had a great win. They tend to not win in Miami to begin with. And Miami's coming off a loss, but Miami's offense is crazy at home. And the thing that's really pretty scary is that despite Miami's offensive line being, like the left side being really pretty banged up, Matthew Judon's not there. Christian Gonzalez is not there. You're not getting the full defense that you were expecting to get. And especially without Judon, against a team that has like such a sound offensive philosophy, it's going to be hard to like set the edge and just do all that stuff you're supposed to do, especially against a fundamentally sound offense, which Miami is. So it'll be interesting. I don't really know if 9.5 is a lot, especially with the Patriots offense, because me as a Patriots fan have been wanting Michael Onwenu to start at right tackle for about 2 years now. And Onwenu has been at guard, and he's an all-pro caliber guard when he's there. He's a pretty solid, he's a good right tackle, and just having a good right tackle instead of the worst right tackles in football made such a huge difference against the Bills. And the Bills front is still really good, even without Ed Oliver, but it just makes life easier for everybody. It makes life easier for David Andrews. It makes life easier for Sidy Sow, or whoever's playing right guard. Cole Strange came back and looked mean. He looked really good on the offensive line. And I'm really happy about that, because for a very long time, I just did not think he could play. I really didn't. And nothing to do with him personally. I just think that putting someone who's very clearly like a West Coast Shanahan tree type of lineman in the Earhart-Perkins just is doing him a disservice because of what you're asked to do in those offenses, as opposed, like, Earhart-Perkins is full of double teams and like man blocking and hat on a hat, whereas obviously the zone blocking systems really help offensive linemen look good. And someone like Strange, who can really move out in space and occupy space very well, would be better suited in that sort of system than what he has been in. So yeah, that's really my main thing. So the Patriots offense should look better, and I think they can cover 9. I don't think they'll win, but covering 9 feels appropriate. 9.5, it feels like that's something they can do. Like I said, don't think they'll be winning this outright, but I think that they'll be able to keep the game relatively close, even if it is in Miami. So I think about that game. Yeah, I'm not going to touch it because, again, I can't like emotionally hedge, you know. It's a tough thing to do. Then we move on to the next game. We've got the New York Jets against the New York Football Giants at the Meadowlands. And the Jets are 3-point favorite. The Jets are technically the road team. Obviously, they're both in the Meadowlands, so there's not really a home field advantage at all. And right now they have the Jets at -2.5. And the Jets are a much, much, much better roster than the Giants. I think Daboll is a better coach than Robert Saleh, but I think that a big issue right now with the Giants obviously is the lack of offensive weapons, and the Jets defense has been playing out of their minds, and they're rested up, and they've held a lot of really tremendous quarterbacks to their worst days, right? I know Saleh made a comment about it. Made a comment about how they've been really doing well to limit these really good quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes, like Josh Allen, like Jalen Hurts, and make them have a bad day. And I think that if they can make those guys have bad days, It's not out of the realm of possibility that they also make Tyrod Taylor have a bad day and that offensive line look even worse, like with Big Quinnen Williams and John Franklin Myers and those monsters they got up front. I think the Jets might be my favorite. Definitely, it's definitely on underwatch. like 36 and a half. Never mind. Taking it off underwatch. I think that's probably what's gonna happen. I really do think the Jets are gonna handle their business, for sure. So yeah, that's that game. The Jets roster is so much better, even with Zachy Wilson. And he is inevitable, Zach Wilson. He is. So he'll find a way. he'll find a way eventually. But until he does find that way, I don't think the Giants can force him to be that bad. But yeah. So next game, Atlanta at Tennessee. These coaching staffs are super familiar with each other. Tennessee did just trade Kevin Byard, and Atlanta's roster is really pretty dang good. It's just that Desmond Ridder has been really pretty poor this year. He's been one of the worst quarterbacks, if not the worst so far, in terms of starters. And with that being the case, I'm really thinking that like Tennessee could just muck it up. They're home dogs. That's what they do. They win at home, but getting rid of Kevin Byard is not fair. Trading Kevin Byard, while they still can they're trading Kevin Byard and Will Levis is starting. So that can mean a couple things, but I think Atlanta is just a better football team, and they should win. Cover? Who knows? But they should win, and if you're into a money line bet like that, that will for sure be, something to keep an eye on if you're really into that sort of thing, just straight money lines. I think it's not that bad, right? Minus 142. Minus 142 is not bad at all. I mean, Tennessee's plus 120 if you're into that. I don't know if I'll be. They don't look like they've got juice, and for all of Atlanta's issues with the quarterback play, the rest of the roster is pretty awesome. So just something to keep an eye on. The over-under's at 35, and I might just have to take the over out of respect that they're NFL players and that 35 is just far too low for an NFL team. So that's my take on that. And that leads us right to Minnesota at Green Bay. Minnesota's going to win. They just are. Green Bay's been really poor. Obviously, it's at Green Bay, and they're giving them some respect. They're only 1.5 point dogs at home. Minnesota is a much better football team than them in all aspects. Maybe I think coaching is a little even, but even then, just like having Brian Flores as your DC sort of puts the coaching staff over the top, in my opinion. And you saw what he was able to do to just really ruin the game plan for Shanahan. So I think that like Flores is awesome and he has lots of success against the Shanahan tree, and I don't think that's being accounted for. And again, they're only 1.5 point favorites, so money line is minus 120. I mean, I dig that. The over and under's at 42, so make of that what you will. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think Minnesota's going to win. There's not too much analysis other than like Green Bay's defense is sort of steadily underperforming. They're not particularly great. Their defense actually ranks really poorly. They rank 27th in terms of DVOA, and the Vikings offense, even without Justin Jefferson, ranks 14th. I think that Jordan Addison is going to go crazy. They schematically they don't do super hot. I mean, Minnesota's defense has been really overperforming their rank. They're ranked 15th right now, and just with their roster talent, you'd think they'd be a lot worse. So they're a team to watch out for. I think they can really go on a run here, and they're definitely on favorite watch, for sure. I say that, but like my actual favorite's coming up very shortly. So next game, and with Green Bay, they're the youngest team in the NFL, and I think that's sort of getting lost on people. And when you have a team that young, they're just not going to look that good. Is what it is. So with that being said, going to move on to Cleveland at Seattle, and this game, it's going to be at Seattle. PJ Walker starting. Seattle is a 3.5 point favorite. I do not think there's going to be many points to be had in this game. Now, I know I said that last week before a 2012 Big 12 game broke out in Indianapolis, and it made me look like an idiot with the over being covered by the end of the first half. Like, Christ, what an under to have. Seattle's defense is really solid, right? They just are. Solid group. Not particularly up front, but they make it very difficult to throw the ball with their coverage unit and all of that stuff. And with that being the case on that side of the ball, where I just don't know if PJ Walker and Amari Cooper is very good, but Devin Witherspoon and Tariq Woolen are not easy corners to face. And that's really their only big target, like, go get me a first down, quarterback-proof receiver. Everyone else is pretty dependent on Cooper getting double covered, and they just won't have to do that. And Jerome Ford is missing a couple weeks, which obviously makes them worse. And they're on Kareem Hunt and Pierre Strong as their backs, which is not a good spot to be in. Their offensive line is a little banged up, but still has really good players on it. And it's PJ Walker, which you never know what you're going to get from him. In Seattle, at least you know that their red zone offense has been inconsistent this year, but I ultimately think that they can... Covering's tough, but the under's at 38 or 38.5, depending on where you go. And I think that realistically, we're going to see the under hit, right? Like, this game on paper with these two defenses, which by DVOA, ranked number 1 and number 16, these defenses should be good enough to keep that under 38. However, there's probably going to be some nonsense. There's probably going to be some nonsense that prevents that from happening. So, I'm going to move right down to Kansas City at Denver. And, well, the over-under is at 47. The last time they played, it was like 19-10. Was it Kansas City's 7-point favorite? I could see them covering 7. Covering like 11 is really hard. But they could cover 7. Yeah, probably. I mean, it's hard to analyze too much about this game, considering that they played a couple weeks ago, and like, Denver was not a functioning football team, and Kansas City just had control of the entire game and were messing around, not taking it seriously. So there's that. There's that. It's a weird game for sure, but I think Kansas City's just a better unit on the whole, and will probably end up winning. And the thing is, I'm not going to be watching most of these games. I'm going to be tracking them. I'm going to be at a wedding, and hopefully these outcomes will look good. By the time I get back, we'll be up. Everybody will be up, hopefully. So yeah. Yeah, just there's nothing to say. Denver stinks. Kansas City's good. Just make of that what you will. I don't know. Like, Kansas City, you never know when they're going to explode offensively. You never know when they're just going to lay an egg and mess around and not really do what they should be doing. So yeah, that's what I've got. Cincy at San Fran. Cincy at San Fran is entirely dependent not on... Well, Brock Purdy's out for sure. Purdy's out. It's going to be Sammy Darnold in. So you got Sammy and... It's Sammy, and it's freaking... If Trent Williams isn't playing, there's going to be severe issues, right? Because we saw those severe issues rear their ugly head against Minnesota. They were not functional without Trent, and their offensive line looked really, really bad. And I think there's a chance if Trent's not playing again, since he just beats them up front, like Trey Hendrickson, DJ Reader, and Sam Hubbard just going to work against that unit. And it's very plausible. Like, it's something that probably will happen if Trent's not out there. So they are a road dog, but they're probably my favorite dog just because, like I said, if Trent's not out there and it's Sammy D and not Purdy, that's an issue, and we'll see. We'll see. Favorite, Baltimore Ravens at Arizona Cardinals. NFC teams are Lamar Jackson and the Ravens are now 16-1 against NFC teams, with their lone loss being against the Eagles, I think, last year. So, what that means is that teams are not used to seeing Lamar Jackson, and Lamar is playing better than he was his MVP season. So I think the Ravens are just going to cover against a team that hasn't covered since week 3. That's just what's going to happen. The Ravens are going to win. And then we've got Sunday Night Football. It's the Chicago Bears, Tyson Badgett at the Chargers. The Chargers are 8.5-point favorites. What's the over-under for that game? It's low. It's 46.5. With the Chargers offense, or rather, the Chargers defense rather, being as bad as it is, I think there's a real shot we can get the over in this game, 46.5. The Bears defense has played better these past couple weeks, but it was against the Vikings. They're both home games, which obviously helps. But the Vikings without Kirk, not without Kirk. The Vikings, their first game without Justin Jefferson, getting used to that. And it was against the Raiders with Brian Hoyer with Brian Hoyer as starting quarterback. So they're facing a real offense with a real starting QB. And I think there's a chance that despite the Chargers defense being as bad as it is, we can see the Chargers really rack up points. The Bears not match it, but score enough to keep the over alive. It's 46.5, basically saying 27-20 projected final score, implied final score. But yeah, I think that's through Sunday. Not a ton left to say. This is sort of rambly, kind of exhausted, just really pretty busy this week. But let's touch on Monday night real quick. Detroit hosting the Raiders. I think the Detroit get-right game, 8-point favorites. That makes sense completely. They've beaten bad teams. They don't just beat bad teams, they thump bad teams. So that's probably what's going to happen. And NBA season's back. That's going to be fun. 1-1 so far. And hopefully we'll have a good betting season. Going to really focus on PRAs instead of... going to really focus on PRAs and not... what's it called? Like spreads. It's just a tough number. It's basketball's so tough. And just going to look at some props. Like PRAs are looking good. I'm going to look more into it, but that's going to be the goal. Just going to have a fun season. That's the goal. So yeah, that's what I've got there. Do a quick little college look ahead. I don't really know the spread that well this week. And by spread, I mean like total. That's NBA. I want NCAA football. Yep, so we've got Army's a 10-point favorite against UMass, which the alma mater is not looking hot. And I'm just looking at the spread. Oklahoma at Kansas, that's a trap game for Oklahoma. Penn State is a 32-point favorite against Iowa, and I expect them to play like it. Kansas State, K-State hosting Houston. I think they're going to beat Houston up a little bit. NC State hosting Clemson. There's not going to be any points in that game. Yeah, this is a funky week. Duke at Louisville, App State. I don't know what I'm going to do for bets. Oregon, Utah. That's just man football right there. World's largest cocktail party, Georgia, Florida. That's a fun one. Pitt at Notre Dame could be a lot of fun. BYU, Texas. Texas without Quinn Ewers is going to be interesting. Tulane. I like Tulane at Rice. I think Tulane, 10.5 points. I mean, Tulane is like, everyone's like, oh, always bet the big game, always bet the big game. Tulane's a pretty good program. Colorado, UCLA. UCLA is a big favorite, as they should be. UNC, Georgia Tech. I might just take UNC that game. Get right game, look better, Drake May, all that good stuff. But yeah, I mean, The spread's not as strong as you'd like it, but I'm going to stick to some big games. We've got Tennessee, Kentucky. Going to keep an eye on that one. Might bet a little Kentucky on that one. Well, yeah. That's what I've got. Thanks for listening, everybody. If you're listening on Spotify, please subscribe. YouTube, please, or Spotify, you want to follow. YouTube, you want to sub. SoundCloud, you want to follow. Like the video, share it, put it everywhere. Really appreciate everybody who listens. Means a ton. And yeah, peace. Thanks.